Welcome to Knowledge for Greek Myths. We are on lesson number three, lesson number four, Arachne the Weaver. Again, before we start a Greek myth today, let's go through our vocab words. I will say the word, you repeat it after me. Spectator, amusing, retrieve. So if I saw two kittens playing around and I thought it was kind of funny, what word would I associate that with, or what word? That's right, it's the word amusing because it's funny and entertaining. What would I what word would I use if I had to bring back, let's say I had to go get my report card and bring it back? Retrieve. Again, what we've already learned, what happened in our last read aloud about Demeter and Persephone? What natural event or what in nature did the last read aloud try to explain? So today's read aloud is titled Arachne the Weaver. Based on the title, what animal might be described in this myth? So our pre-reading question today is, what is something you are really talented at? After today's read aloud, you need to be able to evaluate what Arachne the Weaver explains about nature and demonstrate understanding of the word flattered. Again, listen carefully for what to try to explain what this myth explains about nature. Long ago, there lived among the Greeks a young woman named Arachne, who was a very gifted weaver. A weaver weaves or spins threads or yarns together to make cloth. Wait a second, we heard about people who are pretending to be weavers. Anyone remember what story that was? Yeah, remember it was the Emperor's New Clothes. The swindlers were just pretending. Now, Arachne, she definitely is not pretending. She's a very good weaver we're about to hear about. She did not just weave solid colors. She wove tapestries, which are wonderful woven pictures that people would hang on their walls as art. People came from distant lands to see these masterpieces or gray works in Arachne's studio. A visitor might comment, "This is amazing. Why, look at the leaves on this tree. They look so real that you almost expect them to move in the breeze. And this deer in the meadow looks like as if he's going to turn and bound or jump away." The visitors would tell Arachne, "You are the finest weaver in all the world." But then they would add, except, of course, the goddess of Athena, who invented weaving. Athena was actually the goddess of all handicrafts, not just weaving. People flattered or complimented Arachne by comparing her work to that of Athena's. At first, Arachne was pleased with this comparison, but as the years passed, she began to get annoyed. She would say, "I'm sure Athena is very talented, but look, did you see this one over here?" Why do you think Arachne is starting to get annoyed? As still more years passed, whenever people compared her to the goddess, Arachne would angrily say, "I don't care if Athena invented weaving. I think I am the best weaver in the world." Do you think bragging might cause a problem for Arachne? Word of this eventually reached the ears of the goddess Athena on Mount Olympus. She decided to visit Arachne's studio to learn if Arachne was truly saying such things. However, Athena did not want Arachne to recognize her. So, with her magic, Athena changed her own appearance from a beautiful, athletic young woman. Now, with a wave of her hand and a puff of smoke, gone was the young woman, replaced by a woman so old and bent with age that she had to lean on a walking stick to get around. Of course, inside the body was still the goddess Athena, but no one would have recognized her. In this disguise, she went to visit Arachne, commenting, "Oh, your work is extraordinary, my dear. I am certain that you are the finest weaver in the world. Well, except, of course, for the goddess Athena." Hearing this, Arachne, thinking she spoke to a bent old woman, angrily explained, "I'm sick of hearing about Athena. I say that I am the best weaver in the world." Well, there was a puff of smoke, and when it blew away, who did Arachne see standing there with her but the beautiful goddess Athena? Arachne was afraid of what the goddess might do to her, but she took a deep breath and said, "I meant what I said. I am prepared to prove that I am the best. I have two wooden looms for weaving. You use one, and I shall use the other. Let us see once and for all who is the best." Who do you think might win? So the goddess and the young woman chose their colors and started to weave. When at last they stopped, Arachne grinned, for she truly believed she had won. She pointed out all the wonderful features of her work to the goddess. "Look," she said, "see how real the streams look tumbling down the hillside, and how the water reflects the colors of the sunlight as real water would do. And if you move here to look, the colors actually change the way real sunlight would change." At last, she turned to see Athena's tapestry. Arachne saw at once that the work of the goddess was even finer than her own. Athena had woven a stream, but hers seemed to ripple and move. She had woven clouds that appeared to float lightly in the sky, and above it all, she had woven the gods in all of their majesty. Upset and embarrassed, Arachne turned and ran from the room. Athena caught up with her and said, "Where are you going?" Arachne exclaimed, "I thought I was the best, but you are superior, or better. And no matter how long or how hard I work at it, I will never be good as you are. I shall never weave again." Then Athena grew stern. "Everyone is born with some special gift or talent, if only he or she can figure out what it is and how to use it. You must not waste your skill of yours. We shall see to it that you shall weave again." She reached out and touched Arachne's shoulder with the tip of one finger. Instantly, Arachne began to change shape. She grew smaller and smaller, and her body rounder and rounder. Her legs and arms grew longer and thinner until, about 5 minutes, Arachne had turned her into the very first spider in the world. Today, we call all the members of the spider family arachnids. And that is why some people say all spiders are the children of Arachne the weaver. What do spiders weave? So why did Athena turn Arachne into a spider rather than another kind of animal? So if you were Arachne and people kept saying, maybe you just shared about your special talent, and they kept saying, "Well, you might be good at running, but Usain Bolt is faster," or they just kept comparing you to something, how would you have felt? Would you have been flattered or jealous? How does the story end or conclude? What in nature does this myth try to explain? What about any lessons? Do you think there are lessons to be learned? Maybe Arachne learned a lesson? Yeah, maybe one lesson is not to be so hard on herself, even though she was a really good, she was really good. She was kind of just being kind of braggy as well. Our word for today is the word flattered. I will read the word. You repeat it after me. Flattered. What sound does ed make at the end of this word? D. What are the other two sounds it can make? T and ad. How many syllables is this word? What do you think the word flattered means? So flattered means you received a compliment from someone. So when someone gives you a compliment, you have a feeling of being flattered. It's when you receive a compliment. The teacher flattered Jenny by praising her performance on the math test. Have you ever been flattered by someone? Again, we're going to go into your Greek myth journals. Remember to write in complete sentences. Talk about today's Greek myth, what it tries to explain in nature, maybe the lesson that was learned in the story as well. As we continue on, we will continue on with some other Greek myths and continue talking about what these Greek myths mean in our lives.